Orange Bowl was built I think the same time as the Roman Coliseum, wasn't it? I mean, what a shithole. I couldn't believe it. You needed a machete to get out of the players' parking lot. The grass was like 6 feet high. I mean, it was unbelievable. You couldn't even find your car with a compass. It's incredible. Tony would argue, the opposite. But, I mean, if you're being honest about it, look, I know it had a great atmosphere or whatever.
Yeah,
when you were inside, the place was shaking. And that probably was, a significant home field advantage for the Dolphins and the Hurricanes.
The opposing team was scared that they would die.
Yeah. But I'll never forget my first time. I went down into the bowels there of the Orange Bowl to go out on the field, and I'm looking up at this structure, and it literally looked like it was built with an erector set. I hope this guy had all of the little nuts and bolts there, because you know how you always lost one, and that would cause this beautiful bridge that you had built to collapse. And this is how this place is put together. I think, the Golden Glades interchange was a better conception architecturally. And that's a piece of shit.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on a Monday. Peel yourself off the mat edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz. Happy to be with you. John Congemi is going to join us here. We have yet new schedule changes and new events happening. Show keeps although I don't know what it's evolving into, and yet we do have a new venture that starts up today. I'm not sure how ready for it we are. Actually, I think we're ready for it, Libby. I'm not sure how ready the world is for it, and especially the world that we're being welcomed into, which is the Tony Bruno Sports Network. It is internet radio, and you can only download this stuff on the Tony Bruno Sports Network app. So how do you do that, Libby? Just quickly here for the people that would be inclined that watch and listen to this show, now catch us from 10 to 12, where we're going to be doing middays, back to the middays, where we started.
Yes, where we started.
You and I started our journey at 10 to 12. That didn't last long. That was a luxury cruise for me.
It was like half a year.
I remember thinking, geez, I got to get out of morning drive radio because, it's killing me getting up at 4 in the morning and schlepping to work. That was when you actually drove to the building to do a show. And, it was about pretty good 35-minute poke for me to get from my house to the studio. So you're talking about getting up at 4 a.m. every day. An ungodly hour to wake up in the morning. If you're waking up at 4 a.m., I hope it's just to take a leak or take a dump. Let the dog out, the cat. Not to get up and go to work. I mean, and we sympathized and empathized with people that were on the road at that time, and that's who we were talking to, essentially. But this is a whole new world. We started out 10 to 12, and then got pushed back into morning drive after a brief stint at night.
Yes, that was fun.
I remember one of those loan sharks that we borrowed the money for Defo Radio off Eddie saying to me, "They put you on nights? What a disgrace."
You can hear us.
Yeah, you know what? It probably is a disgrace. You're right. Whose bright idea? That was Ken Charles. That was a bright idea.
Was.
They had to capitulate to their obligation to air the Dan Patrick Show, which is okay, but nothing special, right? Dan Patrick, one of the better, I guess, renditions and editions of these network shows. But still, you listen to it, it's like, is this guy? He's more full of himself than we are, Lubie. Unbelievable. And he doesn't have to be that way. We have to sell ourselves. I mean, we're begging people, hey, please listen to us. We got something.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing 10 to 12, Tony Bruno Sports Network. It's audio only, and you have to download the app.
Yes.
How difficult is that, Lubie? Is it simple? Because you start mentioning, as soon as you say download, I'm like in a panic. I'm like, what? Download an app? You told me about this chat line that we have to download, and I'm already like schwitzing here. I can feel drops of water hitting my armpits, thinking, wow, am I going to be able to do that? Am I going to be able to manage that? But all right, so what's the deal again? You explain it, and then the people will be tuned in.
It's easy. Just go to any app store and put in Tony Bruno Sports Network. Pops right
That's
up. Download the whole thing.
and you're ready to go, and you can catch, and it's going to be going all day. It's not just us. We're just one show of many, including Tony Bruno, who's going to be doing 3 to 6. The great Tony Bruno. People remember Tony, of course, from his days WIP in Philadelphia. He was one of the pioneers on the morning show there, and then he expanded into national horizons as he was huge with Fox Radio. Then he got on Fox TV. And did many, many things. Tony Bruno, an accomplished guy with like 50 years in the business. Great voice, great approach. He was one of the first guys to not take everything so seriously that happens on the sporting landscape. Where, it wasn't like, are you kidding me? Can you believe this guy? It was none of that. No Stephen A. Smith screamology. That this was just a clever guy that was making his observations and trying to make you laugh a little bit also. One of the first guys to be a proponent of that. And so we're very happy to be affiliated with Tony and the lovely Miss Robin, who's been with him forever. They are busy scurrying right now, probably as we speak, trying to plug stuff in, although they've been on the air for an hour,
Yes.
I think. With what's Pete's last name? The guy from the West Coast?
Pete Shepard out of the Southwest Florida area. Pete Shepard.
Pete Shepard is doing morning drive on there. So it'll be Pete Shepard, 7 to 10. We are inked in there. Well, I don't know. We're penciled in, I think, depending on today's debut, from 10 to 12. And then they have yet to announce who's going to be doing 12 to 3. So I would imagine they'll have some kind of programming in there, a combination of stuff that either has already been done on the station and or, some of the guys that are on there now, including us. And then Tony Bruno, 3 to 6. And they have a nighttime show also. So they're going to be broadcasting with live shows already from 7 till noon, and pick it back up from 3 until 8 o'clock at night. So just getting things rolling out there. Tony Bruno Sports Network, TBSN. Download the app, and you can catch our new show that debuts 10 o'clock today on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. All right? We took care of that business. That's good. Dolphins took care of business yesterday, 6-2, going to Germany. Ich liebe dich. I love you, Germany.
At least they won.
Well, I mean, I thought they won pretty easily yesterday against the Patriots, although the Patriots were in the game a couple of times in a somewhat, I don't know, it was a threatening position. They got one in 7 a couple of times. They took the lead 7-0 in that ball game. I don't even worry. There was a time where if the other team scored first, I was ready to leave the stadium.
There's a lot of times.
That's not the case anymore with the Dolphins. I guess that's a really positive development, because you're thinking 7-0, no big deal. 14-0 against Carolina, no big deal. These guys are going to come back. But what are you making of it? I mean, the Dolphins were really, really very adept at getting off to good starts. Those first drives were almost always scoring drives, and their defense supposedly getting better. They got Jalen Ramsey back. He had a pick in the game yesterday. But been getting off to a little bit of a sluggish start the last couple of ball games at Hard Rock Stadium, as they were trailing Carolina, who got their first win yesterday. Boy, that was a thrill in Manila, wasn't it? That was just a disaster of a game going against Houston. But by far, the worst game on the slate was the Jets-Giants. This New York supremacy trying to be the king of the city, the Big Apple. And the Jets were favored by 3 points. What a miracle it was that they were able to win that game. That was just ridiculous. Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year. Again, I don't know. What would you have done in this situation, Louie? Did you see what happened in that game, or are you still at the track?
Field goal. I mean, Graham Gano shouldn't miss a fucking 29-yarder. That was a joke.
Okay, so you would have kicked the field goal there.
Well, in their defense, I don't understand how you give up.
You can ice the game by making the first down also.
Yeah.
Think about that. They had a 4th and 1 there at about, the 15-yard line?
Yeah.
Now, if you get the first down, if you just get 1 yard, you ice the game right there. If you fail on 4th down, it's just kind of, I don't know. I think, it's a coin flip decision. So I don't know that you can be overwhelmingly critical of the coach. It was shitty weather out there, so there was a chance for the field goal miss. Gano had already missed a short field goal in the game, and all of a sudden he's got a gyroscope in the ball. He looks like Joe Nedney out there.
And he's a good kicker, too. So then I didn't even realize the weather was that bad. That makes a lot of sense. He doesn't miss. So he'd already missed in that game. Then, yeah, maybe.
Slips flying away, my friend. It was Simon and Garfunkel time out there.
And then maybe you do go for it, because that's what ended up happening was they actually gained yards on the field goal miss. But still, it's 24 seconds with no timeouts. Like, all you have to do is make one tackle inbounds. Like, if he doesn't go off sides on that fucking one play, they wouldn't have had time for a second play because the stupid idiot goes offside. Thibodeau goes off sides. That allowed the clock stops. That allowed them to move to midfield and get another play.
Yes, which somehow they managed to spike the ball with 1 second to go.
No, that was weird. I'm sorry. It was literally, I thought it takes 2 seconds to hike and spike. When he went to say hike, there was 1 second left. Magically, it stopped before he spiked it. I don't think that's how that works.
That's a weird situation anyway, where you have to come running up the field with the whole team, and the other guys are still behind the line of scrimmage, and you have to run up there and snap the ball, and there's naturally going to be an offsides call that goes in conjunction with that. But this was prior to that, as you mentioned, the clock stopped because of a penalty flag being thrown. And the Jets were able to get up to about midfield and then throw another pass, which got them into field goal range, which they made. That sent the game into overtime. But the decision by Dayball, how much scrutiny should that come under? If he makes the field goal, then that nullifies it. Now the Giants would have to go all the way with a guy, Tommy DeVito, at quarterback. The Giants in that game, did you see this? I mean, is this number real? I thought maybe I misread what was in the box score. Were they actually 9 yards in the negative passing for the entire ballgame? The New York Giants. They did have Tyrod Taylor in there for a while. He got some ribs busted up pretty badly on a play where he was scrambling. And so you're thinking, well, who do they have left? Is Phil Simms going to come in there? Y.A. Tittle? They were down to really rock bottom when it came to quarterback choices. It's not like that they have a great lineup of quarterbacks anyway. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's all right. Some people think he's probably giving them a better chance to win than Daniel Jones, who just got $160 million of Mara money. Wow. I mean, that's almost like being Sam Bankman-Fried, isn't it? Where you're getting $160 million. And while, Jones seems to be a dedicated and real professional athlete, he's not that great. And was not having a great season before the neck injury, and very prohibitive. Whether some are speculating he might not come back, some are saying he's coming back next week. I'm not sure that it makes that much difference, because in essence, the Giants' season, was it even on the line yesterday? I mean, were they going to make any noise? Not with this offense. Their offense is as inept as anything that we have seen. Only maybe eclipsed by the Jets offense yesterday. What happened to Zach Wilson, the fair-haired boy? He was coming on. Everybody was loving Zach Wilson. Said, well, you see, I tell you, guys. I was even one of them. I was buying in that. I didn't know that he had been exceptional or anything, but I thought, okay, give the guy a chance. And he seemed to be rising to the occasion and at least playing capably at quarterback. But in this ballgame, the numbers are startlingly bad. How about this, Lubie? You have 24 punts in the game. That's the most in 25 years. You had 16 3-and-outs in that ball game. That was some kind of record going back to like 25 years ago. They were combined. The two teams combined for 4 for 34 on third down, 0-18 on third down in the first half. That's some exciting football. I tell you what, I want to watch that. And we were tortured into catching a little bit more of that game as they switched to it. And finally, it got so dreadful that they just switched out of it and put on whatever the West Coast game was, which there were some bafflers coming later on also. San Francisco looked like shit once again. As, Brock Purdy now coming under question. Is he this is not a question you want necessarily asked about you. Is he a clutch quarterback?
He's come down to earth is what it feels like. So.
Yeah. I mean, he was Mr. Irrelevant. Did you expect him to do this the rest of his career? Maybe. He's got a little bit, it was very exciting what he did last year. And coming into this year, he comes back from Tommy John. He still has a fork ball. But unfortunately, he's throwing fork balls now. And guys aren't catching them. And the 49ers have lost 3 in a row after looking like the best team in football just a couple of weeks ago. Not for long in the NFL. I'll tell you what, we don't want to take too long either to get to this gentleman, because it's always great to have. Wow, again. I mean, is that a startling presence? It's like they put a movie star on the show. It's shocking this early on a Monday morning to look this good. John Congemi, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good morning, John.
We're doing just fine. Yeah, we were talking a little bit. I doubt you had a chance to catch this because it was on after the game and you were obviously at the stadium, I would imagine. But, that Jets-Giants game was just absolutely putrid. I mean, one of the worst games in the history of the National Football League contested yesterday. The Jets do prevail, and somehow are sitting there. What are they, 4-3 now? Yes.
Yeah.
4-3. with an abysmal offensive performance yesterday against the Giants. And then, what wasn't Tommy DeVito Joe Pesci's character in Goodfellas? What
I
wasn't
think
that?
so. I think you're right.
Funny how? I thought I saw him say that.
I don't shine shoes anymore.
He didn't either. I mean, he didn't shine much at all. -9. I think that was the total passing yardage for the Giants in that game yesterday. That was ridiculous. All right. The Patriots sweeping the Patriots is no small accomplishment, as bad as the Patriots appear to be. Mac Jones, again, looked inept throughout a lot of that ball game, although the Patriots take the lead. That's the second time now in recent last couple of ball games at Hard Rock that the Finns have been trailing, which is unusual because they always come out with that scripted opening drive. What was your overall assessment yesterday? I mean, it seemed to me like the Finns were pretty much in command of that ball game from the time I tuned in on.
Yeah, guys, it was the second week in a row that the Dolphins didn't start fast, but it was also the second week in a row that I had no fear of them winning the game. They scored a lot of points at home. New England came into the game averaging 14.4 points a game. And you knew that was going to be the high water mark, give or take 3 points one way or 3 points the other way. So it was going to be only a matter of time until you get a couple explosive plays, you get a Mac Jones turnover that turns into points, and then you're going to get your 14-point separation, and you're going to feel comfortable going into a week where you have to face the Kansas City Chiefs, who fall on the road to Denver and have to travel a little bit longer route to Germany and not getting there until Thursday night. So I think it bodes well for the Dolphins that they found a way to get through some early adversity at home, but you never really felt threatened because of the two teams and the caliber of opponent that you were playing. And you knew that Miami still was going to spring loose Waddle and Hill at some point for explosive plays, if not for explosive touchdowns.
A couple things that I think that I don't say been dispelled, but look, I like when the team starts fast, but one thing we have talked about is you have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to slow down the game and end games. And yeah, that the drive where you knew the Patriots were going to score. That's just how these games have gone. They cut it to a touchdown. But the fact that the Dolphins were able to get the ball back, then have one of those really long drives. They didn't have to chuck it down the field. They ran the crap out of the ball. They got a ton of first downs. They made plays, and then they capped it off with a touchdown with like 3 or 4 minutes left, going up by 2 scores. And then the defense said, nope, we're done. Jalen Phillips, sack, another sack, and they ended the game. The fact they were able to close that game out is something that we haven't always seen from this team, especially against the Patriots. We weren't biting our teeth. Like you said, you could feel they were shutting it down. And in years past, that was an issue for them. And the other thing is, for all that people are talking about them beating crap teams, well, ask the Bills about the Patriots. About yesterday. Ask the Niners about 2 of their last 3 games. For what it's worth, you only play so many good teams. Most of the teams you play are average or bad. That's just the league. You have to be able to win those games. And the fact that they're not only winning them, they're winning them convincingly is a breath of fresh air. Defoe's joked, but he said usually if they went down 7-0, you're like, oh, shit, they're fucked.
That was it.
You know, they'll be fine. Like, even I am like, yeah, whatever. They're going to score 20. Like, you know it. Like, that is a totally different thing. And the fact that Mike McDaniel, as much as he takes chances and frustrates the crap out of me, he never changes his demeanor. And he's always like, yeah, we'll be all right. Yeah, we'll be fine. Like, it feels like the team sort of embodies that. And the fact that they're now, they went 6-2 with a ton of injuries. You're going to get Connor Williams back. You're going to get Howard back. You're going to get all these guys back for this stretch run, something they didn't do last year, something they sort of struggled with at the end of the year. They've set themselves up in a way a lot of these teams haven't.
I think you're right, Lubie, in terms of first the mentality of the team. I don't think they flinch when an opposing team goes up 10, goes up 7. They know that they're going to score points. Now, caliber of opponent, you can only play who's on your schedule. That's the old adage, right? Everybody always says, whoever's next, we're going to play. But it just so happens that the 2 losses were to very good football teams that are going to be around at the end of the year. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Miami Dolphins go to Germany and lose against Kansas City Chiefs. You know, they could easily as win that game or come away with a loss. But that outcome to me doesn't matter because I feel that the Miami Dolphins, as long as they can secure home field advantage for the first playoff game or maybe the second. If they have to go on the road for the championship, saying that they win the first two, you flip a coin, because you're taking all these learning experiences of losing in Buffalo, of losing in Philly. You play Cincinnati, or you play Kansas City on a neutral field in Germany. You know what? As a Dolphin fan, you're saying, yeah, this is our window. This year, the next year, and the year after, this is our window to win a Super Bowl, or at least to get there and play for one. You don't really care where you play. You'd love to play at home, and you're close enough now that if you can beat a team like Kansas City, especially not having to travel to Arrowhead, you're going to feel good about it. You're probably going to be sitting atop the AFC East.
Yeah.
And then it's going to come down to the final game of the season. You're going to tread through the Tennessees of the world and whoever else is on the schedule. At the end, you got to play the Jets twice. You get the Raiders. Okay. But you're going to get to that game and say, if we can win a game at home at the end, we may have home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs.
Yep.
And as far as fighting adversity through the players, yeah, you mentioned, you get Ramsey back on the edge. You're going to get X back next week. I talked to him before the game. He probably could have went.
He was fine.
And I said, you know what? You're probably good for an interception today too, because you're going up against your old friend Devontae Parker. You know how to play him. You know they're going to throw him a back shoulder fade, and you're probably going to get an interception. He started laughing. So I just think that the way the offensive line came together yesterday, they had multiple pieces. Yeah, they didn't run the football for 100 yards, but they didn't lose the game either. Nope. They had Lamb and Smith sharing left tackle duties. You're going to get Armstead back. Okay, so that's going to be a plus. Maybe you get him for 4 games, but it's 4 more games, and you just lost him for that, right? You had Jones plug in at left guard, which is an abnormality. You got Eichenberg at center. You get Williams back probably next week. You had Cotton go in for Hunt at right guard, and you only had Austin Jackson at right tackle, who you were probably most worried about going into the season. So, this offensive line did a pretty good job. They've been running, they've been averaging over 160 yards per game. Yeah, they eked out 78 on the ground, but they ran it when they needed to. They moved the chains when they needed to, and that's all that really mattered up front.
Did they dig up John Sandusky or something? I mean, I used to tease Mike Westhoff all the time that there should be an award for special, not special teams necessarily, but assistant coaches. Should have like an assistant coach of the year award, because there's so many of them, and they don't necessarily get that kind of recognition. Where somebody's deciding who was the best, but you would have to think, who is the Dolphins' offensive line coach? Because this guy would have to be a candidate. I mean, the way, never mind patchwork and makeshift. I mean, this has been a catastrophe up front, and it was supposed to be a suspect point of concern for the Dolphins to begin the season, even if they had everybody in place, including Armstead. So who is this guy, and how the hell is he doing it?
Well, first of all, you have to give credit to the guys that are doing it, because they've come a long way in this scheme that Mike McDaniel has brought in, with the outside runs and the way they're moving the pocket. I thought he called a really good game yesterday in terms of moving the pocket and allowing the linemen not to just say, okay, there's a target, 7 to 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and allow the New England defensive front seven to kind of zero in on them, because there were spurts in that game where they got hands-on footballs, where they got hits on Tua. They were able to create pressure in the pocket. And Mike McDaniel decided, well, I'm going to use play action a heavy percent of the time and move people with motion to get guys open. Not only move the pocket, but move players in motion. And that's how they got the last touchdown. 2 guys covering 1 guy in cover 0 doesn't work, because Jalen Waddle is running free down the middle of the field for an easy 31-yard touchdown. So I think that was a huge key to the adjustments the Dolphins made because of the injuries up front.
I'm laughing because they had a shot of Belichick after that play, and you could tell it was a blown coverage, because 2 guys went with the receiver on the outside while Waddle just waltzed into the end zone. And you could tell that when they got back to the office, maybe some heads were going to roll, because they absolutely screwed that up. A couple of other things. I mean, it's fun to watch. And we've been talking about this for years, John, and you've been part of these conversations. And Lubie and I always said, hey, if you're not going to win, at least be entertaining. And one of the most entertaining things that you could have going for you on a pro football team is a guy who can throw a bomb to a streaking wide receiver and hit him in stride. Now, we had the luxury, and maybe we just got too accustomed to this when Danny Boy was slinging a rock, and there would be Clayton or Duper 5 yards behind a wide receiver. And I remember it was one of the few good things about the Orange Bowl. You could go up to the rooftop there and watch the game. I don't know if you ever watched it from like where the cameras were.
Yeah, I did.
And you would see, I remember being at like the 85 Bears game, and you would see Marino, he chucked the rock, and you had such a great perspective, just a perfect trajectory, and it was going to land like a feather in the guy's hands as he was stretched out. There was some criticism. I mean, we were dealing with this forever. Tannehill, I mean, that was the old joke that he could overthrow a small country, no matter how wide open the receiver was. The ball was going to be 10 yards down the field past him. Tua, was suspect also in that category. People thought he didn't have the arm strength to throw these bombs, but he's delivered like at least a dozen of them that I can think of that were, just perfectly thrown balls and deep down the field.
I think people have the misconception when they say, hey, we're going to throw the deep ball, that every quarterback in the National Football League throws it 80 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's usually between 40 and 45, 48 yards at the top, where you only have to throw it out there with enough air to let your receiver continue to run under it. Yep. And that shot to Hill was a perfect example. I don't know how many touchdowns that Tua from his college career. I would imagine in high school he did the same thing, but from a young quarterback to where he is now, in the left corner of the end zone, you could probably draw a box of about 5 by 5, and how many touchdowns he's thrown in that area.
Yep.
Looking off to his right, chucking it to the left. And I would credit a lot of his success, not only with the deep ball, but the intermediate pass with timing and footwork and being able to trust the receiver is going to be there when he's ready to deliver the football. I think the timing aspect, he doesn't hold it too long because he knows he doesn't have elite. I mean, I'm talking Justin Herbert, throw it through the back end of the end zone from 80. But with these guys, they're so fast, you have to get the ball out on time, and you have to be able to give them an opportunity to continue at top speed to create that separation, and then kind of just, have the ball float underneath them, right? So the ball has to come out on time, and not only on the deep ball, but the intermediate shots that the Dolphins are so good at. That ball comes out, a couple pitter-pat steps in the pocket, the ball's out on time, and it looks like he's throwing it into just a mass of nowhere, and all of a sudden you get a streaking Dolphin receiver, name the name, and he's going to be flying across the middle to catch it. And I think that all has to go back to discipline and footwork, discipline and timing, good protection, but Tua having that clock in his head, knowing boom, 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 ball gone, boom, 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 ball gone. And the only thing that disrupts that is when you get pressure up the middle. And that's what the Eagles and the Bills were able to do to Tua. They were able to get pressure in the middle, allow the coverage to drop back underneath those in cuts, and it just looked like a mass of humanity in the middle instead of just open field the way the Dolphins normally see it.
All right, taking care of business. That's kind of what the Dolphins did yesterday. They sweep the Patriots. Now 6-2. I believe one of 4 teams are all the division leaders. John, did I see this this morning when I was half asleep? I believe all the division leaders in the AFC are all 6-2.
Yes,
and so there are 4 6-2 teams in the AFC. However, I mean, and here we go, another one of those crucible type of moments there. When they travel to Germany, so they catch a little bit of a break. I would think having this at a neutral site with the, dubious, things that go along with schlepping a team to Europe for what'll be a 9:30, body clock game for these guys. They're going to be dead tired. And Casey, I mean, we were saying this throughout the season. They do not seem to possess anywhere near the explosiveness that we've seen from the Chiefs in the past on offense, including, I mean, a loss to a Denver team that you had thrown in the towel on a few weeks ago and wouldn't have given much of a chance. They had lost, I believe, 16 in a row to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos as a franchise. Mahomes was 12-0 against the Denver Broncos, and they kind of dominate that game. They shut out Kansas City in the second half. So are you not catching the Chiefs at seemingly an opportune time?
Yeah, you can take a look at both sides of the coin. All right, which Chiefs team are you going to get? Are you going to get a a pissed off, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and defense that's relentless up front and come after you because they know this is a separation game for the end of the season in the AFC, right? Or are you going to get a team that, is still kind of meandering around and can't find their way and having problems creating explosive plays where the Dolphins have a ton of confidence. I was looking at the schedule. Other than Buffalo at the end of the season, I think the Dolphins have maybe 8 games remaining after the Kansas City game, and they're probably going to be favored in at least 6 games, five for sure, possibly 6 games going down the stretch. So this game means more for the game before the Super Bowl.
Yes.
This game, this is where it comes down to, because Buffalo doesn't seem to be threatening anybody except for the Dolphins when they play them. They seem to play their best football against the Miami Dolphins. But other teams, you have to travel to Baltimore, and that'll be another test for the end of the year. But Dallas comes to South Florida at Hard Rock Stadium, and other than that, you're rolling. So this is the game for the end of the year. Of where you're going to be playing those playoff games. That's why it's so critical to win it.
It was entertaining also. I don't know if you had a chance to catch that. Stephen Ross doing the waddle.
I tried to look away.
And this Art Garfunkel guy, the president of the team, he had to smile as if that was like some good.
Well, that was part of his job description.
Yeah. I'm thinking, does this guy have the balls to tell Stephen Ross to knock
Stephen,
that
let's
off?
sit down. Not going great.
Listen, I know, Steve, you got a lot of cash weighing those pockets down, but Jesus, I mean, you don't have to embarrass us. It was good to see the guy having fun.
No,
though. He really was.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
You're affecting you know that, for all the things the Dolphin fans and Stephen Ross, the owner, has gone through for years with the Dolphins, the last thing you're going to do is kind of critique, right? What we're doing, critiquing him having a good time because, hey, let it go. Things are going great, right? So if he wants to get up and do the waddle or his version of it, God bless you. Go ahead, have at it.
If he wants to run a couple of pass patterns at this point, I wouldn't mind having him out there. All right, a lot more to talk about here. John Congemi and the Pigskin Playbook. We do this every Monday. I want to peel yourself off the mat Monday. And if you wanted to peel yourself off the mat, or maybe put yourself in a position where you might need the mat for a couple of weeks, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill would be the place to go. Because it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it's fine dining, it's casual dining, it's a great atmosphere. I mean, you can go there. Right? The lodging there is absolutely extraordinary, amazing. If you are staying there for a couple of days, really the accommodations. I don't even know. I mean, how to describe them. The people at the Ritz-Carlton would have their jaw drop if they saw the accommodations there, and just a great vibe, great place to spend midweek. You want to get some relaxation in. Any trip to the Keys probably should have as a major destination stamped right on there, John. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Yeah, I think you said it best, Defo. It's a great vibe. Anywhere you go on the property, you can go catch a game at the sports bar for college football Saturdays and NFL Sundays and Monday Night Football tonight. The Panthers are on tonight, going back to Beantown to play the Bruins. So you're going to catch all those games in the sports bar, and then you can meander over to have fine dining in the dining room right next door, and then kind of saunter out to the tiki bar where I like to hang out and just, put my feet up and have a beer or two and just check out, the scenes and the music. And they have an amphitheater for football outside, on Monday nights. And it's a beautiful place. So the food's outstanding and the accommodations, as you said, first class. So, from the staff to the food to your experience, it's what you want in the Keys, and you don't have to go very far to get there.
And the service is great, as you mentioned. I mean, your brother and his lovely wife, they do a terrific job of staying on top of things. So, you're not sitting there for like a half hour and you're thinking, my God, can I get another drink? I mean, the people, while not being, kind of an impediment to you having a relaxing good time, they're very much on top of things. So you get everything that you want. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, we'll expand the horizons here. More in the NFL and college football as well. I didn't want to bring up that Pitt game. That was an ugly.
No, let's go to the next segment.
Wow.
Jeez. When our
was,
dudes is sort of losing it.
Hey, Tom Fox enjoyed that.
I had Pitt in that game.
Oof.
Unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Well, in my personal bookmaking venture, it wasn't like a decision of mine. I don't know. I might have taken 20.5 because I always root against Notre Dame. But wow, I mean, that was just some serious ugliness. All right, so we'll come back. We'll talk about the college landscape and what else happened around the professional football ranks with John Congemi on the Pigskin Playbook in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:37.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Jimmy. Now, what do you think on this? And I'm not sure where I stand on this. Will more people be rooting for Tim Tebow to make some dramatic game-winning catch in the final seconds in the end zone? Or will they be looking forward to seeing him get plastered in a special teams play and just rolled under the turf like he was roadkill somewhere in Alabama as he makes his debut for the Jacksonville Jaguars? You think people will be rooting for him or rooting against him?
It depends if you're a Hurricane or Seminole fan, Defo. I think it probably starts there.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Pigskin Playbook on tap here with and right in the middle of it with John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. A couple of people on the chat line wondering, hey, we still going to have this thing going? Yes, well, we are. I believe it'll probably go from like 8 to 9 in the future as we crank up a new thing, John, that we hope at some point you'll become a part of with Tony Bruno, the great Tony Bruno. And he's starting his own sports network. It debuts today. We don't know if we're going to be able to get on the air, and we don't really know how it's going to go, but we're going to do it. So that's going from 10 to 12. So you can probably look for us here from 8 to 9 in this slot the rest of the way until we figure out what's happening and what's working and what's not. So looking very much forward to starting this new venture. But it's nice to see the people behind the scenes there are in much more of a panic this morning than even Lubie and I are.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's on them to make this thing work. And,
And
we could do our thing pretty much anywhere. And we still will be involved with nofilter.net with the morning briefing as well. And once I get around to it, I'll have this thing assembled and we'll get licensed steel on the air somewhere also, which turned out very well. At least had people watched the show that we shot that never aired, they would have been enriched greatly because our handicappers were on fire on this program. They'll probably think that we recorded it after the fact, right, John? I mean, how do you?
Absolutely.
All right, because okay, all of your guys won, huh? But that we could have easily done this afterwards, but we did in reality have some excellent predictions and handicapping on that program. All right, rest of the NFL. I mean, San Francisco in decline. What do you see there? Brock Purdy. All of a sudden, there was nothing but hyperbole and praise for this guy, and maybe rightfully so for what he did, coming into the situation there, replacing Garoppolo, never losing a game. He takes him into the Super Bowl, or towards the Super Bowl, and almost gets there. As Mr. Irrelevant, which is not an easy task and not something people could have foreseen. Has a Tommy John surgery, comes back. Everybody's crediting him with just being, a very good game manager, which is apparently all you have to do in the Shanahan system to be successful. But now it's sort of, backing up on him a little bit. And yesterday was ugly on the part of Brock Purdy. So what do you think? San Francisco 3 weeks ago, John, we were probably, I don't know if you were on board with that, but many people thought that they were the best team in football.
Yeah, I was pretty close to being on board, both feet in for San Francisco. They looked like they could do no wrong. It looked like Brock Purdy couldn't miss receivers. McCaffrey was getting into the end zone, and that defense was turning the football over. So great recipe to win a lot of games in the National Football League. And now you seem like, you get into a rut and you miss those open receivers, or you get pressured, or you get tipped passes like yesterday. The interception in the red zone, where he kind of doesn't really nonchalantly throws the football out and it gets picked off by a defender that had no chance of being in the lane to intercept a pass. And, those teams seem to snowball once you start going good or bad. And right now it's not going great for San Francisco. But I still believe they have the talent along with Philly. One of those two teams are going to emerge. I don't think anybody's even close on that side of the fence in the NFC. Dallas could threaten if they happen to get hot, but those are the two teams I would say that, are going to be there at the end. We'll look at the Dolphins last year. They're rolling. They go to a 5-game losing streak, and you don't know how to get out. And you get out not soon enough, so you have to go face the Bills on the road in the first round of the playoffs. So I don't think that's going to happen to San Francisco. I still think they're going to be there, but they have to find a way to either trim what they're doing or just do what they're doing at a better, consistent level, because right now they just seem like they're giving teams chances. And that, now give credit to Cincinnati. That's an improving team. Joe Burrow's healthy now.
Yeah, they look sharp in this game.
On all cylinders. They remind me of like a Baltimore Ravens team where if you catch them on the wrong day, you're not going to win. I don't care what you do. You're just not going to. That defense turned it up. Lou Anarumo does a nice job, former Dolphin coach there on the defensive side. And, Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. When he's good, he's really good.
Yeah, he looked good. They can't. Well, they did run the ball a little bit in this game with Mixon, which they've been struggling in that category, and they look sharp in the game. San Francisco did not. If I'm the agent for Deebo Samuel, I am renegotiating his contract to whatever the maximum could be that he could be paid, because it does appear that without him in the lineup, McCaffrey, by the way, tied a mark that was set by like Lenny Moore, the old Baltimore Colt. And when was that, Defo? I think it was like in the 50s or something, where he scored in some ridiculous number of successive games. I think he has a streak of 16 games with a touchdown, which was a record that dated back, I think it was like 1961. So they have talent, as you say. You would expect them to rebound. Philadelphia was in a dogfight, life and death again. Seems like every week they're staggering to a victory, but they're finding the proverbial cliche ways to win.
And Jalen Hurts is not 100%. Everybody kind of knows it, and he still finds ways, to get it done. It's admirable to watch, his courage and his consistency on display, because most guys would probably opt out going, we're going to be there in the end. I might need a week, or I might need 2 weeks, when the schedule kind of lightens up to get healthy, but he continues to play. He was hurt against the Dolphins, made plays. He was hurt again, during this game yesterday, finds ways to make plays and win a game in the end. So I just think that those two teams in the NFC, in San Francisco and Philly, are going to be tough outs for anybody, especially, cruising until they get to the conference, finals.
See, the thing that's weird to me about the Niners, not so much the Eagles. I think the Eagles had injuries, and that was their issue on defense. The Niners are actually pretty healthy on defense. Like, Bosa misses months at a time. He's playing. Like, that's what's weird is, look, a guy like me who believed in Purdy wasn't because Purdy was great. I never said Purdy was great. What I said was they're so talented that maybe it's okay he's not great because he won't try to do too much, which sometimes does get in the way of a team that's loaded. Problem is, when they have issues, no Samuel, then it puts more spotlight on Purdy. But the thing to me that's the issue is what's going on with their defense. Like, and I get it, a healthy Burrow, the Vikings can score, but still, like, they used to just close it down. And like, if you scored 17, you're going to win that game with this defense. And it's sort of, you're starting to see cracks in their armor. Like the last 2-3 weeks, they don't look the same. Even the Browns, they were allowing chunk yardage, and it's something that they don't. They are talented from front to back. They don't have a weakness. Like in this day and age where people don't give a shit about linebackers, their linebacking core is an old school kind of linebacking core. They get after the quarterback without blitzing. Their secondary is as strong as any. But the last 3 weeks, it's been night and day.
Well, that's just it. If you're not going to get to the quarterback without blitzing, then you have to give something up.
Yep.
And I think that, where has Armstead, where has Bozak? Do you even know they're on the team?
No.
So I think that's probably where it starts on defense, because now if you're not getting home with your normal pass rush, you have to bring somebody either from a linebacking position or a secondary position to add pressure to the pocket. So now you're, not thin, but you're thinner in the secondary, and teams are taking advantage of it. And I think teams are sustaining consistency on the ground as well. It's just not chunk plays that are beating the 49ers. It's moving the chains. It's keeping the offense off the field. And now the offense goes on the field. And for all the people that say, well, Tua might not have the strongest arm, he might not be able to make, this throw or that throw, Brock Purdy's a step behind Tua in terms of arm strength, in terms of being able to do whatever you can. And I'm not saying that either one of those guys can't make all the throws, but when you watch different quarterbacks, you watch their anticipation and you watch the room that they need to fit footballs in, the window gets smaller and smaller as you go along. So a throw that Burrow might make, it's probably, 8 out of 10 for Tua to make that throw. It might be 6 out of 10 for Brock Purdy to make that throw.
Yeah.
So I just think that, those things come into play when you're struggling, because guys don't look open. You start seeing ghosts. You hesitate a little bit, and now that ball that should have been, a half a second cut loose is still in your hand, and now you're throwing it into coverage. And you saw multiple throws yesterday from Purdy, luckily fall to the ground. There should have been more interceptions than there were, by the Bengals on defense.
All right, let's transition into some college ball and get your observations there, which, interesting stuff, all being overshadowed, it seems, by something I normally wouldn't, take this seriously, but it's become a very serious issue, apparently, this whole Michigan sign stealing thing. Now, I'm watching these guys on the sidelines, and it's not like they're flashing signals like Frank Crissetti, the old third base coach for the Yankees, where he scratches his nose, and you're thinking, okay, as soon as he picks his nose, the next thing is to sign. You got 6 guys with placards and face masks on, and, they're all doing different things, and you don't know which guy is really sending the signal in. I would think it's harder to decode college football signals from the sideline unless you're on the team that is sending in the signal and you're the quarterback like you were at Pittsburgh. I don't know if it was even as far out there then as it is now. But it was easier to decode the moods of my second wife than it would be to figure out what the hell they're calling. So what do you make of this? How serious is it in your estimation, John Congemi?
I didn't think it was all that serious in the beginning, but we used to think that back when I was playing college football, that teams were known for sending people out to stadiums, sleeping in the restrooms at the stadium, waking up and trying to film your practice. That was the big fear.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Right? That was the big fear. Everybody was sending people out to film your practice, that, the game film wasn't enough. You wanted to know what they were doing at practice. Now, allegedly, I guess guys were getting paid to go and film other teams at games, not at practice, at games,
yes,
to get their signals. So I think that's so difficult, because you've got, take for instance, Florida State. They've got 6 guys in a powder blue shirt on the sidelines. They got 6 guys in an orange shirt on the sidelines, and they got another 6 in a purple shirt on the sidelines. And then they've got a board with the Cracker Jacks logo on the bottom,
Right. Who the hell can figure this
NASCAR
out?
up on top. You got a clown face on the other side. It's
Kirk
so,
Herbstreit, a big head of Kirk Herbstreit.
Lee Corso's on the bottom. That's the kneel down play.
Yeah,
So
who the hell
I
would
don't
know?
know. I don't know what you
That's the
do
kneel
to
down
try
play.
to decipher who's doing what. And then you've got the guys. You've got a call list, and then you've got the guys behind with the sheets. 3 guys are giving signals. One guy could be live, one guy's not. The other guy's just messing around. I don't know, guys. I think it would be pretty tough to do, but I think there are indicators like run pass that could, I remember when they were showing things this week online somewhere. I think Ohio State was playing Michigan last year. You could see the Michigan sideline react to pass, or whatever they were doing on the sidelines. Michigan's defense adjusts, and they're able to get to the quarterback. Maybe when they knew it was pass, they were going to get into a certain coverage and blitz a certain area to, try to weaken the protection of Ohio State. Maybe you get an advantage there. But during a game, I remember looking, on sidelines trying to decipher. If I was backing up in a game in Canada, I would try to decipher what type of signals were coming in from the sidelines to help out our receivers or help out our quarterback to know, like, hey, I think I know their short field fire blitz sign. So if I see it, I'm just going to I'll yell a color, yell something to, alert, alert, alert. So it's on or not. But that stuff during the game, that's all free. That's you're trying to win. That is all good. But going to film somebody during a game and then getting it, I never really knew teams. It was always a rumor that happened. Well, evidently, it seems like allegedly Michigan did that.
And as you said, it's been going on forever, ever since cameras were available. I remember when I first started covering sports, professionally, so to speak. I was at this rinky-dink newspaper in Fontana, California, and the big thing was to cover the high school teams there. And the local high school team was pretty good. They had a coach named Dick Bruick, and he was under suspension from the California High School Athletic Association because he had sent, I guess when he was an assistant coach, he had been sent to a practice to go ahead and film some other high school's practice. And these were high schools that had like Anthony Munoz and Ronnie Lott on the roster. So I mean, all you would have to know is that those guys were playing, and you were fucked. So I don't know how much of an advantage it would have been to film their practice. But that's been going on forever. It just it seems odd. I mean, it's a story now that's overshadowing what else is going on in college football, and yet you do have Georgia going for the three-peat. You do have Pac-12 teams making some noise in spite of the fact that the conference is about to become dust. You have the Michigan Wolverines playing supposedly, the best football of anybody, according to some, but remaining unchallenged. So really not much of a barometer to judge just how good they're going to be. And I don't know that Penn State game really stacks up as some kind of measuring stick anymore after watching the way that they were handled by Ohio State. So you're probably waiting until Thanksgiving to find out if Michigan's any good. And that weekend when they play Ohio State, it does seem like, and Lubie's Florida State Seminoles,
yes.
Almost a sleeper team because overshadowed by the headlines, whether they're negative or the concerns that people have for some of the other good teams. Florida State that just goes out there and seems to put 47 on the board every week.
Yeah, Florida State is one of those teams that you really like to watch. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
And, I think it's going to be interesting, though. Miami's probably a cut below them in terms of overall talent. But anytime in a rivalry game where you have Miami and Florida still on your schedule, I think that's going to be, if you look at everybody else, Ohio State has Michigan, obviously. But I don't know if anybody else other than if Penn State's still on Michigan's schedule. They only have probably one game remaining that they have to get over that hurdle. I think Ohio State.
Yeah, Penn State. Michigan plays Penn State coming up in a couple of weeks.
Right. So those are two teams that still have two tough outs.
Yeah.
I would say, so somebody, something's going to happen with one of those teams. I don't know if both of those teams will win both, rivalry games, so to speak, if you want to throw Penn State in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. O.J. McDuffie was not happy with us last week. We asked him 2 or 3 questions about Franklin. And he thought we were on some kind of Trumpian witch hunt there, where, but I mean, it does remain in question whether this guy can perform at that level. I mean, eventually, no matter what kind of lofty record you assemble, you have to start beating your main rivals in the conference and making some progress towards winning a championship, or all of a sudden you become Ed Ogeron, right? With a giant frying pan waiting for you to sit in, as you are hoping they butter up the hot seat a little bit, so you don't just have to put your ass right on the flames. All right, I didn't catch this. I saw something about it. People on social media were upset again with the strategies of Mario Cristobal. He didn't. I looked at the box score. I mean, they did get a field goal at the end of the game.
At the buzzer, right? Yeah. I didn't see any of the game. I didn't really see any of the highlights. I don't know why. Normally I watch.
I was trying to figure out what he did this time. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, Defo. I didn't watch because after the last couple of weeks, they get into overtime against Clemson. They're lucky to get there. They made some great plays with a backup quarterback to get there. They win that game. I've heard through the grapevine that offensively they didn't play well against Virginia. The quarterback didn't play well, Van Dyke, and then all of a sudden they made plays at the end and they got into overtime and found a way to win. So good on them for finding a way to win. But it's still, when you say Miami now, you kind of go, all right, they're all right. They're an average team.
So what happened again? And we're going to get out of here. And I know Don has to go. Before half, they had 30 seconds and 2 timeouts, and not before.
Oh, sat on it?
Before overtime. Again, going into overtime, they're playing a bad Virginia team, and with like 27 seconds, they had 2 timeouts, and he just kneeled. He just took a knee, even though I thought he didn't know how to take knees. He took a knee and took it to overtime, and they won.
Okay.
So he took a knee so he could kick the field goal?
He took a knee so they can go to overtime. No, he did the exact same thing as the game.
Oh, okay. Again?
He didn't even try and just went to overtime. So people were.
So I was thinking that they kicked a field goal at the end to tie it and then get into overtime, but they had already kicked it.
They had the tie.
And then they got the ball back, and he still played for the tie?
Yes. Okay, so they kicked the field goal to tie. Virginia did nothing. They got the ball back.
Oh, wow.
They took a knee with 7 seconds
left.
Gotcha. Screw it.
Very sad. Yeah. Time for this guy to go. John, I know you have to go, and thanks so much. Always a pleasure, man. This one flew by, so thanks for being with us, and we'll talk to you again next week. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, of course, bringing you John Congemi in the Pigskin Playbook, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. John, looking good again, and thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Appreciate it, guys. Talk to you next week.
All right, John Congemi, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
I want to get down there, but Tommy isn't responding to my messages.
What's up with this guy, Tommy Fox? Where are you?
You're dear friends with him, so maybe you can.
I love the guy. No, he's a great guy.
He's not even responding at this point. And we want to get down there. We promoted it. I don't want people to think it's this mythical place. Like
we're gonna get Mayo in there for sure.
Goes down. We're all down. I don't know how to set it. We're not even worried about Jimmy Johnson anymore himself, who we'd love to have, obviously. I
just want to see Mayo eat the Italian fisherman pizza.
I want it so bad.
And then I dare him to make a face.
He can't. It's great.
I dare him to make a face. He looked good in the suit jacket yesterday. Wow, he was all spruced up.
Did the whole thing. So if you have,
I didn't recognize him. Did you? I thought it might have even been Joe Beja.
He looked classy.
He was dressed classy, for the big shindig that we had at 10 Palms yesterday. Did you make any money, Lubie? Did you end up winning some money? Did you bet some horses?
A couple races, and our horses were up the track.
You see who won on 2 bombs yesterday? Although I was gone at the time because we had to get back. The Mustang was working last night. Luca Panici, man. Oh, fourth race. He put over a $50 horse, and then in the last race, a $40 nag. Did we have any inside information on that, courtesy of our dear friend Luca Panici? Not a senor, because the jockeys and the trainers are sometimes the last to know, even though you think, oh, yeah, they know everything. But while, you may get some encouragement, oh, yeah, this horse is working out real well in the morning, that doesn't necessarily equate out to anything of significance in the afternoon, except maybe licking your wounds and going, lose my number there, Luca. Lose my number.
Exactly.
But, 2 bombs yesterday. That would have been nice if I had stuck around. I don't know if I even would have noticed it. I've been swinging so badly with the horses that I think I bet a total of $25 yesterday and lost it. And that was it.
Whatever.
I needed some 3 to 5 shots.
The Stang hit, so I mean, as long
good.
as it's.
Yeah, it was good. A lot of nice people out there, so we thank
was
them for
fun.
coming out. All right, we will see you later on. A couple of venues. We will have Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 1 o'clock today.
Right here.
And then on top of that, Tony Bruno Sports Network. Let's hope that works, Lubie.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Looking forward to that. Okay. All right. We'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.